Osrc News at 7. Governor Aiyedatiwa hails judiciary, pledges commitment to good governance in Ondo State. Experts call for swift action towards curtailing Lassa fever outbreak. House of Representatives Committee submits report on tax reform bills. And from the foreign scene, Ukraine agrees to 30-day ceasefire proposal deal. Good evening and welcome to the news at 7, coming to you live from Osrc Television. I am Obi Chukwemeka Oti. Ondo State Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa says the Supreme Court's judgment that further affirmed his candidacy at the November 16 governorship election in the state is a testament to the belief that the judicial arm of government is the last hope of the people. Reacting to the ruling on his arrival in Akure from Abuja, Governor Aiyedatiwa said the verdict further proved that both the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal were upholding the principles of justice and fairness. The Apex Court on Tuesday threw out the case of the PDP candidate Abola Ajayi, challenging the emergence of the governor and his deputy, Dr. Olaide Adelami, as the candidates of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Government House correspondent Wahab Bankole reports that Governor Aiyedatiwa also reiterated he is resolved to sustain and improve efforts that enhance the security architecture of the state. The report.
The Supreme Court upheld the concurrent judgment of the trial court and the Court of Appeal. It shows that our judiciary system, they are doing great work. Men and women of integrity, both at the Federal High Court here in Akure, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. It was a concurrent judgment at the three levels. That shows the case that was taken before them by the opposition, the PDP, is frivolous. And I'm so happy that today we have come to the end of that particular legal battle. Like they always say that electoral matter is so generic, according to the lawyers. But from the analysis by my learned counsel leading our cases, both the one for the party, for myself and the deputy governor, with all the explanation we're going from them, we just have that belief that at the end of the day, justice will be served, because we're properly briefed, and we believe that the judges will do the right thing, and that is exactly what they have done.
Party faithful, supporters and well-wishers were at the Akure airport to welcome Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa back to the Sunshine State from Abuja following the Supreme Court verdict that reaffirmed his candidacy at the November 16, 2024 governorship election. Governor Aiyedatiwa, accompanied by some party faithful, described the Supreme Court judgment as victory for democracy and democratic government.
The Supreme Court upheld the concurrent judgment of the trial court and the Court of Appeal. It shows that our judiciary system, they are doing great work. Men and women of integrity, both at the Federal High Court here in Akure, the Court of Appeal, and the Supreme Court. It was a concurrent judgment at the three levels. That shows the case that was taken before them by the opposition, the PDP, is frivolous. And I'm so happy that today we have come to the end of that particular legal battle. Like they always say that electoral matter is so generic, according to the lawyers. But from the analysis by my learned counsel leading our cases, myself and the deputy governor, with all the explanation we're getting from them, we just have that belief that at the end of the day, justice will be served, because we're properly briefed, and we believe that the judges will do the right thing, and that is exactly what they have done.
PDP candidate at the gubernatorial poll, Agboola Ajayi, had challenged the emergence of Governor Aiyedatiwa and his deputy, Olaide Adelami, as the standard bearers of the All Progressives Congress, APC, claiming that their nomination was not valid. Responding to questions on recent security challenges in the state, the governor emphasized that security remains a top priority for his administration, assuring residents that his government will not shirk its responsibility of protecting the lives and property of inhabitants.
The security of lives and property is the primary function of any government, and that is exactly what we want to ensure. We have been working hard to ensure that our people are safe here in Ondo State. Forget about the propaganda. Some of those reports you read on the social media, they are just propaganda. Yes, but the security agencies are working tirelessly day and night to ensure that the people are safe. We have been supporting them in every way. We just need to. And the criminals, they have not relented in their effort. They are trying to look for other ways to have into the system. We also need further and more equipment, like a tracker and drone. These are some of the equipment we need to get for our security.
Aiyedatiwa urged residents to join hands with his administration to rid the state of crimes and criminality by reporting suspicious movement to appropriate authority and security agencies in a bid to have a safer and more prosperous state. Wahab Bankole, Osrc News.
In another development, 9 surveyors kidnapped at a site in Iloabo last week, Tuesday, in Akure North local government area of Ondo State, have regained freedom. Earlier, scores of residents in the state had picketed the office of the governor to call for government's intervention. Afolabi Owolanke, a brother to the Ijemiki of Akure, High Chief Oluwole Omotaya, confirmed their release to Newsbed. He said the abducted surveyors were released last night. Owolanke also confirmed that the surveyors are already in Akure metropolis but declined to disclose their location. The House of Representatives Committee on Finance has submitted a report of the public hearing on the 4 tax bills transmitted to the Parliament on October 2024 by President Bola Tinubu. The 4 executive bills, which met stiff opposition by the 36 state governors and members of the House of Representatives of Northern extraction, were finally debated and subjected to a week-long public hearing by both chambers of the National Assembly recently. The chairman of the committee, James Abiodun Faleke, said led the report before the House at plenary for consideration. The proposed legislation are now expected to make their way back to the floor of both chambers for consideration and passage, preparatory for the presidential assent. The committee also met with leadership of the House behind closed doors ahead of the consideration of the reports. In the meantime, the suspended senator representing Kogi Central, Apoti Edogan, has taken her national stage. Speaking of the Women in Parliament session during the Inter-Parliamentary Union meeting at the United Nations in New York, she called for justice and intervention from global democratic institutions. Natasha described the suspension from the Senate as unlawful. She also expressed concerns about her personal safety following the speech, claiming there are signs she may be held against her will for speaking out in New York. Her suspension followed a heated confrontation with Speaker Akpabio over a new Senate sitting arrangement, which she claimed was designed to undermine her. Tensions escalated when Natasha accused Akpabio on national television of punishing her for rejecting his alleged sexual advances. She later submitted a petition detailing claims of sexual harassment by the Senate President. The Federal Ministry of Labour and Employment and the Federal Ministry of Youth Development have signed a memorandum of understanding to facilitate the creation of 2.5 million jobs annually. The agreement, which was signed in collaboration with a private firm, Sofitel Limited, was said to be part of the renewed hope agenda of President Bola Tinubu's administration. Speaking of the event, the Minister of State for Labour and Employment, Nkiru Onyejocha, emphasized that the collaboration will strengthen Nigeria's workforce and expand job opportunities. Onyejocha noted that the initiative, known as the Labour Employment and Empowerment Program (LEAP) and the Nigerian Youth Academy platform, would create pathways for skills development, job placement, and entrepreneurship. The minister explained that the initiative was not only for young people, but also for retired professionals and individuals who had been affected by hazardous work conditions. In the meantime, President Bola Tinubu has met with members of the Lagos State House of Assembly, including Speaker Mudashiru Obasa and Deputy Speaker Mojisola Miranda at the State House, Abuja. This meeting, which is coming after a leadership crisis in the House held behind closed doors. After the meeting, lawmakers were seen singing joyfully and hailing the president as he walked off to his office. One of those who attended the meeting said everything has been solved. An official statement has not been released yet. The leadership crisis in the Assembly took a different dimension on January 13, 2025, when Obasa was removed as Lagos Speaker by more than two-thirds of the 40-member House, who voted him out over alleged misconduct and sundry offences. Staying in House of Assembly, but now from Rivers State, the state governor, Siminalayi Fubara, has been denied access to the state's lawmakers' temporary legislative quarters, where Speaker Martins Omowole and 27 lawmakers convened. Fubara had arrived to present the 2025 Rivers State budget as mandated by the Supreme Court in its judgment. However, the main entrance of the complex, located on the Port Harcourt and Aba Expressway, was locked, preventing his entry. At the scene, Governor Fubara revealed that he had formally communicated with Speaker Martins Omowole through a letter and had also reached out to him, his deputy, and other lawmakers by phone calls since the previous day, but received no response, stating that the plan is to frustrate him after the Supreme Court's judgment.
Come on, for us. No go, sorry. The gate is locked. Yeah. All right, okay. There are no security men. Nobody to open the gate. They left. All of them are there. I'm here myself this morning with members of the few members of the Executive Council to comply with the Supreme Court judgment. Before my arrival, I've already made several attempts by phone call to reach the Speaker and other members.
I also did a letter personally, which was transmitted to the Honorable Speaker for this particular invitation. But it's unfortunate that at the gates, you can see that the place is completely sealed and there's no sign that anything is going to happen today. The reason why we're doing this, I've always said it, is the interests of our people, which is the most important thing. Well, I don't think there's anything to worry about. Maybe they are working on their letter. I expect to hear from them maybe after this hour. Thank you.
That way of a proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB. Justice Omotosho of the Federal High Court fixed the date after the case file was transferred to him. Kanu, who was brought back to the country in June 2021 from Kenya, was expected to take his plea as the case begins afresh. Justice John Soho had, in a letter addressed to Kanu's lead counsel, Mr. Alo Ejimako, communicated the reassignment of the case from Justice Binta Nyako to Justice Omotosho. The reassignment followed the demand by Kanu and his team of lawyers for the transfer of a 7-count terrorism charge to another judge after alleging bias. Experts have called for You're welcome back. You can watch us live in our website www.osrc.ng or follow us on Facebook at OSRC TV, and on YouTube you can subscribe to our channel OSRC TV Ondo. As prevalence of Lassa fever has become a major public health concern, public awareness on the causes and necessary precautionary measures to curb the spread of the disease. Lassa fever is an acute viral illness which is commonly transmitted to humans through contact with food or household items contaminated with urine or droppings from infected mouse-to-mouse rats. In the special report, OSRC's Abidemi Akinrotore takes a look at preventive measures residents can take to safeguard their well-being. The report is presented from our studio.
Lassa fever, a disease caused by Lassa virus, spreads through contact with infected rats or the body fluids of infected individuals. Transmission occurs through direct contact with the blood, urine, feces, or other bodily fluids of an infected person, particularly in healthcare settings where infection control measures are inadequate. The disease has recently resurfaced in several parts of the country, including Ondo State. Medical expert Dr. Omoseyin Adeyemi Oshowe provided valuable insight into the history and transmission of the virus. Dr. Omoseyin, alongside another medical practitioner, Michael Ayodele Ojo, explained the causes and effects of the Lassa virus, noting its severe impact when not detected early.
Lassa fever has been here with us, can say, since 1969. Let me give you a brief history of Lassa fever. Lassa was first discovered in a town called Lassa by an American missionary nurse in Borno State. The Lassa town is in Borno State. Lassa is a viral hemorrhagic fever, you understand, and that has been transmitted by multi-mammal rats, rodents that you see around, rats. And of course, from Edo State, in Ondo State here, we have cases from Edo, Ondo, even Ekiti. But in Ondo State, especially in our Akure North, Akure South, this Lassa infection is quite on the high.
Lassa fever is a virus infection, and it's caused mainly by taking food which has been contaminated by the feces or urine of a particular rat. Okay, the rat lives, a kutele lives around. Okay, and if you open your food, okay, maybe gari or cassava or anything, and they piss into it, or they put their feces into it, and you eat, then you get this virus fever, which mainly allows you to bleed inside. Okay, your blood cells are killed, and then, of course, it's already difficult to take care of them.
Medical experts warn that delayed detection of Lassa fever increases the risk of death, emphasizing that early diagnosis and prompt treatment are critical to improving survival rates.
Majority of the time that you have fever, okay, which is not responding to the normal thing you are using, paracetamol, okay? And then the person is getting weak. You should know this person is, possibly having Lassa, and you take the person to the appropriate place so that it can be diagnosed on time. The earlier, the better.
Practitioners also advise the public to maintain a clean environment, store food in sealed containers, cover dustbins properly, and block holes in walls or floors to prevent rats from entering homes. They further stress the importance of avoiding drying food in open spaces where rats could contaminate it, washing hands regularly, and practicing good hygiene to reduce the risk of infection.
We say prevention is better than cure. The emphasis is that you must ensure that there's proper hygiene. You understand? You must cover your food or food items that you keep at home, because you can see that rat is our friend.
Health practitioners are calling on the government to take proactive steps in curbing the spread of Lassa fever. They advocate for localized health sensitization programs to educate healthcare workers within the state, rather than relying solely on international training in order to better equip them with the knowledge and skills to fight the virus effectively.
The government should provide necessary enablement to ensure that when patients are brought, they are quickly attended to.
To prevent Lassa fever infections, residents are urged to take precautionary measures such as avoiding contact with rats and staying away from areas that are infected. By following these safety precautions, the risk of contracting Lassa fever can be significantly reduced.
Now moving on to the foreign scene, Ukraine has backed the US proposal for a 30-day ceasefire, but there's no word yet on whether Russia will agree to it after 3 years of war. The breakthrough came after 9 hours of talks between US and Ukrainian officials in Saudi Arabia. The White House says it's not up to Moscow to make peace. Kule Ario tells us more.
For over 3 years, the war in Ukraine killed tens of thousands of people, millions displaced, and resulting in Ukraine losing 20% of its territory to Russian forces. But now, a stop to the fighting is within sight.
Today, we made an offer that the Ukrainians have accepted, which is to enter into a ceasefire and into immediate negotiations to end this conflict in a way that's enduring and sustainable and accounts for their interests, their security, their ability to prosper as a nation.
President Zelensky was asked to leave the White House after a fallout with U.S. President Donald Trump less than 2 weeks ago.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
Now, the tone towards the Ukrainian side from the Americans has changed. Ukraine will sign a rare earth minerals deal to develop Ukraine's mineral wealth and has also accepted the U.S. proposal for an immediate ceasefire.
Today, in that conversation, there was a proposal from the American side to take the first step right away and try to establish a complete ceasefire for 30 days, not only regarding missiles, drones and bombs, not only in the Black Sea, but also along the entire front line.
In return, the US will lift its suspension on military aid and intelligence sharing with Ukraine. It will allow Ukrainian forces to once again have information on Russian positions. The meeting in Saudi Arabia is just the first step, but it shows Ukraine has made the first move towards peace.
Ukraine is ready to accept, if Russia agrees to it, to introduce a 30-day ceasefire as the first step in order to start preparing some of the important documents to prepare for negotiations.
But on the streets of Ukrainian capital, Kyiv, the news was met with skepticism.
Russia is not ready to stop the war. There have been a few attempts at negotiations, but even during these talks, there were missiles being fired.
The United States says it will take the proposal to Russia.
Ukraine has agreed to it, and hopefully Russia will agree to it. We're going to meet with them later on today and tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to wipe out a deal. But I think the ceasefire is very important. If we can get Russia to do it, that'll be great. If we can't, we just keep going on and people are going to get killed, lots of people.
For now, everyone is waiting to see what happens next. Kunle Aruyo, Osrc News.
Now to sports. A former president of Nigeria Football Federation, Amaju Pinnick, has failed by just one vote. At the Confederation of African Football General Assembly in Cairo, Djibouti Sulaiman Waberi secured the last available seat with 29 votes, edging out Pinnick, who managed 28. In the women's category, Kanizat Ibrahim from Comoros claims the seat with 30 votes, outpacing Lydia Nsekera, who had 13 votes, and Insha Ioannis, 7 votes. To round up the news at